why do you feel like the old publisher and developer model is kind of breaking down?
They've gotten so much power, now the publisher are the mega giants, and the deals has become much worse. The requirement for becoming a publisher is low to none. I think giving half of your revenue away is a lot. It's too much.
Today I'm joined by a 23-year tech veteran, with 22 of those years spent shaping the games industry. He co-founded and ran Playdead for almost a decade, where the team created the multi-award-winning titles Limbo and Inside.
We are talking about a downturn in the whole industry, but there are games being signed, and the games that are signed are the games that all the publishers can just see from the start. You can see a 10-second clip, and I already can feel, okay, this has something.
We talk about why multiplayer innovation won't come from AAA, how the publisher-developer model is breaking down, and what Dino's learned going from game creator to multiple tech founder.
My most favorite games are single-player games, combining a lot of single-player experiences and the emotion and the control you can have in a single-player experience with multiplayer connection. That's the hope I have for the future.
From someone who's shaped iconic indie games and is now helping studios build smarter, this episode's guest, co-founder of Jumpship and CEO of Coherence, Dino Patti. Dino, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. So, for everyone at home, 20 plus years in the games industry, he's helped co-found Playdead, helped launch Limbo and Inside, and now runs Coherence and Jumpship, a new multiplayer platform, and with Jumpship being a indie studio, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, amazing. So, too much. Too much for one man, maybe.
Yeah, I like to keep myself busy, to be honest.
Lovely. We'll get straight into it. So, for people at home, I want to open with the fact that we're going to speak about a few things today. So we want to talk about multiplayer, yes, but I'd love to get into what Dina's been talking about, how the old publisher and developer model is dying. So one of our most popular episodes is about publishing and how it works. And a lot of people sent me messages later saying, wow, did not know that. And I feel like a lot of people operate with different understandings of how the world works in games, and they just don't know what they don't know. And I feel like you're one of the perfect people to start this with. So I want to just open with the first question, like, why do you feel like the old publisher and developer model is kind of breaking down?
But there's a history behind that, because in the olden days, all developers, they worked for themselves, and they all had the same problems with publishing. And then, the publisher model came out, so some people were specializing in doing that. So it was done a bit as a service to the developers. So I think that was it was created because of a business need or a noble need. But what has happened is that they've gotten so much power. Now the publisher are the mega giants, and the deals has become much worse. The requirement for becoming a publisher is low to none. What happened a few years back is that everybody I almost knew created a publisher, and there's no requirement. And I laughed a lot of them and said, hey, you're not a publisher before you published anything. But they say they announce their publishers. Sometimes they put money, sometimes sometimes they don't. So in reality, like, the deals have become too bad. They don't do a lot. Now where discovery has become a key challenge for most developers, they don't have a magic bullet that cuts through discovery. Nobody has, right? And a lot of developers think that a publisher will help them cut through, but they have no what can they do that you can't do. A lot of times, the very personal marketing you can do as a developer is much better than what a publisher can do.
Wait a minute, Dino, because this is very interesting to me, because I've had owners of like marketing agencies on the podcast.
Yep.
They don't call themselves publishers, but hearing you speak, it sounds like publishing's main solution, yes, they give money sometimes, but it's solving discovery. But what you're saying is once they get in, maybe it's not so good on the other side. Like, they're not actually doing what a marketing agency would do typically.
No, but they use a marketing agency. But you as a developer can also use a marketing agency. I've used marketing agencies both in Playdead and Jumpship and Coherence, right? But they don't cost you half of your revenue. They cost you maybe a retainer of $5,000 a month, which is a lot for an indie company and not so much for a bigger company. But there's different. That you can also both get it cheaper and more expensive.
Yeah, like I've actually got a good price range now. So like 5K is probably like small to medium, and like some people I know who are killing it right now. They charge like 10 and sometimes 15K a month. And funny enough, when I spoke to him, his main business is going direct to publishers. So I don't know what
Yeah,
they're effectively getting on the back end after.
yeah.
But yeah, they're doing. And he actually said, this is interesting. He said how a lot of the publishers he speaks to, at least in his words, had no idea what they were doing.
No.
So like, interesting.
Yeah, because it doesn't require them much to say you're a publisher. And then what they do, the publishers, they ask you, the developer, to deliver the materials. So they are not, they are not the
Dino, could
best.
I ask you about your experience with a publisher? I think that would be good because you've worked with one before, right?
So I have never released anything through a publisher. I always self-published. But I worked with loads of developers, both on the board and on the advisory board, where we had publishers. So that's
So how does that look? Could you give people a concrete example of like maybe what they think is happening is not happening? You don't have to name names, but like, can we paint an example here?
in terms of, but that was what I think I was trying to say, that you throughout the process you just have this middleman that is between you and the format holder, and the middleman between you and the marketing agencies. That at least what I feel. So what I did in some part of my job at Playdead and Jumpship was to kind of be that middleman between the developers and either format holder or the marketing agency. But you essentially pay this middleman, that's the publisher.
What's the role of a publisher? I'm so confused now. Like, why do we even need one now?
So
I'm hearing you
so
speak,
I
and I'm
think
like, we just need them for the money, maybe?
exactly, probably for the money. I still think it's an expensive loan, but it's also the people who are willing to take a huge risk on some money that the bank wouldn't do, or some other people. So I would get them for the money, but that I think it's a what's it called? It's a lie. It's a huge
It's almost
But it's a huge lie, that you as a developer say, hey, they do QA, they do localization. Yeah, all of these services are super cheap. It's not that expensive. Companies do that. They're the middleman between all of these services. So if you need the money, I understand. And I mean, I also talk with other developers. I advise that we're considering publishers, because hey, it's your first game. Who wants to take a chance on you? You cannot go to the bank. The bank doesn't understand this risk. They don't want to give $1 or $2 million. So you can say for the money, it's probably worth it. And then all the other things they do is just an added
just go
bonus.
direct.
But I would always prefer, when I launch something, to do it myself. Of course, with help from people who does QA, people who does localization or marketing.
Sweet. So you've obviously done it yourself. Maybe remind people who maybe have not heard the story, like when you've bootstrapped a company to an exit, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, big story to say in the hour we have now, but I'm wondering if you can go back in time and you have Dino there, and maybe the listener is in a similar situation. They're about to bootstrap. They're bootstrapping the company. What do you tell that man? Like, is there anything you would do differently?
That's a good question. I mean, since I started out, a lot of things that happened in the industry. It was easier in some parts and harder in some parts. When we tried to get money for the first company I co-founded, which was Playdead, like no investor understood really game financing. There was nobody
Full
out
stop.
there. There was
Wow.
definitely nobody out there in Denmark. This was around 2006, 2007. And it was almost a bit embarrassing to look for money for a game. I mean, it was really hard to explain like how the gaming field was. Then I think it became easier, and now it's hard again. And the reason it's hard again is that the VC model haven't proven to be that successful in games. If you do a premium style company, like a premium game style company or indie company, it's really, really hard to pitch to a VC that wants, a times 10 return. Because a lot of time you could probably do a really good like a business, just making a game for cheap, selling it. But it's really, really hard to find a VC that to make that type of model fit the VC model. And I think the
Yeah, I
VCs
think
for
it's
a long
because of the
time.
numbers, right?
Sorry.
The I was sorry to interrupt. I think it's from my understanding, the multiples they need and the deal sizes that they typically go for are usually a lot higher than
Mm,
most people that I know who are raising money.
yeah,
Like maybe 1 in 10 want 3 million plus,
yeah.
and it's like, oh, well, will the VC get out of bed for that? I don't know.
Yeah, and imagine you're also an indie developer. You developed, a game for a year or something, and then the VC is only interested in when are you selling the company, right? And that's the last thing you think about as an indie, and maybe you never want to sell it. And I remember when I was in the early days, that we had to kind of make that 10-year plan, and we even at one point made this stupid plan where we had released once a year. We didn't believe it, but we had to put in something to make it seem like a lot of releases. And I think the VCs now have actually caught wind to that the
Hmm.
premium games are a really, really hard thing to do a VC model on.
I wonder if it's more like the movie industry, where it's just you're looking at projects, and a game is a project, at least at the start.
Mm.
Unless you're someone who's going to release a sequel every year, that seems more. But then why do you need the VC? Because you made it.
Yeah.
So I'm confused. Like if I'm sitting here listening to this podcast and I'm making a game, bootstrap is the way. I
I love Bootstrap. And again, back to publisher, they're doing project financing. They're giving you a shit deal. They are trying to lock down your second game if you become a success, right? They do whatever they can. That's not. I don't even know if you have to ask me, what's a good publisher at the moment. I don't even know who, because I know a lot of nice people that I'm friends with that are publishers, but I still think that deals is what I can consider shitty. I think giving half of your revenue away is a lot. It's too much.
but is it more of maybe a supply and demand thing? Like if you're a publisher and you have all this power, why would you ask for less than
Yeah,
50%?
yeah,
If you've got so much deal flow, like if I'm the publisher and I'm a business,
yeah,
I don't need to give more. So why should I give more?
yeah,
And then there's only need a few, I'm not going to say suckers, but like a few people who just don't know better. They will
yeah.
take that deal.
But I mean, if you take the deal, I wouldn't say you don't know better. Maybe that's the only option also. And I also think if that's your only option, and that wouldn't give you, let's say, $1 to $2 million, and that will enable you to create your game, it will take you to the next level. Just like that will actually give you escape velocity. Maybe your game will just do enough that the publisher earns money and you don't, but you having a release game out, if it's a medium to a high success, will still take you to the next step. So I mean,
Like from a learning
yeah,
perspective
yeah, from
and
also
from
from
like a
the learning, like next,
status.
let's say you do a game, you get medium successful. The money, the publisher always earns their money because they do recoup rights, so they're happy. You maybe just get enough in to either shut down the company or continue at a low burn rate, and you have to get another publisher for the second one. The second one, if the first one was a medium success, you still have that to show to the next publisher,
Yeah.
unless you're locked down with your current publisher. So it will take you further in your journey. Um, Obviously, if you use 5 years per game or 10 years per game, you don't progress quick enough. It's like you don't use that escape velocity fast enough to get out of a orbit. But that is a way to go, and also something I've when I've uh, advised companies we have talked about, because I think there's no really good solution. But if you want to look for a solution, you have to consider the not optimal solution.
Alrighty. Let's role play with you. I'm that man. Or that yeah, I'm that man. In this case, I'm a man. So I've got a game and I've got the publisher. Like we can't from my I don't want to make them the villain, but we don't rely on the publisher. As of course, it's our business, right? So how do we build momentum? Like we're starting from zero, we have a game. Like how do we build that momentum? Whether it's as a company and team or from the marketing side, what comes first? Because you have someone who's done this successfully. I'm very curious.
So what says to be like, do you need money? Or do you have the publisher so you have some money to go to what step of the company?
Let's do this in 2 stages. Before the stage, I don't have money. I want to get money. What do I need to prove to get that money? Like, what should I be doing right now?
So you should do the most killer, either vertical slice, but if not that, a short movie showing your game.
All my effort goes there.
Yeah. you want to have something they can try, but prefer see, but preferably try as fast as possible, and you want to make that killer, and you want to have something in that is not, it's super hard to be critical, but you need to have some kind of oomph where, whenever you show your friends or family that video, they all go like, oh my god, this is amazing. It is really hard to be honest, and it's also hard for your friends to be honest when you see a game, because a lot of games are just, you know, there's making a game at the moment, and a lot with Unity, everybody can make a game. There's
Yeah.
you need to kind of get above that. So I think that's the first step. If you can make that for booster money, for family and friends, for your own money, that's definitely where I would go. Because when when you look at the games, we are talking about a downturn in the whole industry, but there are games being signed, and the games that are signed are the games that, all the publishers can just see from the start. Okay, this has something. This has marketable value. You can see a 10-second clip, and I already can feel, okay, this has something.
All of them had that? Not like all of them have that marketability feeling even?
Yeah.
Like it's
Now I don't know all, but I I would say,
the ones you've seen, yeah?
yeah. Go through, the catalog of Annapurna. I did that recently, like, because I needed to. It was a part of another exercise, and
Mhm.
all of them have some kind of sparkle where, like, hey, there's something to this. Not all of the games speak to me as a person, but I can see some of them, within their niche, has something. If in
Can you
most
spell that? I'd love to show people. What are we talking about? Anna.
Annapurna,
So these are the games you were saying. So these all have that sparkle you mentioned.
yeah.
I wonder, like, for the developer listening to this, like, I I feel like the common theme here is like different. Like these don't look like at least for me these don't look like copycats. I don't know how else to say it.
Annapurna is also one of the publishers in the world that really does this great, but they are super good at finding that. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it, but that the games, maybe the genre, but they do something completely different. And you have, like, you just want to have the urge to go in and try that. Again, now, just on the covers, they look really nice. But I mean, I've played
Yeah,
10 of their games, and they are all have something to them.
yeah. I've watched let's plays of at least 5 of these, and I, like you say, I know the games, but I don't necessarily knew the publisher. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Like even Stray, I've seen as well. Cool. So how do we make sure I get that feedback? Because I feel like I've seen this where I speak to a developer and I feel like they feel they've got something special, but they haven't validated that, right?
No.
And but it's weird because there's also the success stories of people building games that they would love to play. How do I go get good feedback? Like you mentioned sharing with friends, but I'm wondering, like, what do you do when you see a developer? Like, do you make them get it tested by publishers, or is that too early? Like, how do I validate with what I'm building?
In general, I would not let it get tested by the publishers. And while
Hmm.
Annapurna is really good, or was really good, they completely changed the whole staff recently. Um, just for the listener out there, so it's not the same people
Fair.
that sign your new game that sign all of these games. Um, I Yeah, people use so much time on their own game that they lose. You partly lose your own. You get blind to what you're developing for sure. And especially when you spend a long time on it. If you spend 2 years making it, it I think the body disables you from thinking this was not a good idea. You cannot,
Yeah.
like, there's nothing in yourself that can say, "Hey, I wasted 2 years." I mean, if you
Mm.
go around with that feeling all the time, you would be depressed. So that cannot. But that is a possibility, right? But yeah, for me, I have friends I know that are honest, that I kind of send stuff to play and get the honest feedback. Um, but yeah, it is a tough one because I think there is a lot of feedback loops out there that doesn't necessarily help you. And if you show your game at a conference, only people who see the visual arts and are attracted to the visual art comes to you. You don't get like feedback from anybody else. On the other side, maybe you also only want feedback from the people who are attracted to like the genre or art style. And then it's also people like in games. So they already from the get go have a certain bias of your game.
I think just getting as many eyeballs as possible, which aren't like the final boss, which
Yeah.
is a publisher or something, and then
Mm.
I'm guessing a spreadsheet or something, like just collecting this all, right, and then just seeing. Like,
Yeah, connecting. But then I think on the other side, you are also the director, and you should not take any feedback. No random person coming up to your stall at a conference knows what you want with this game, and everybody has an opinion. I usually say everybody's a game designer. And it is like even the cleaning lady of the company. Everybody's a game designer, so you also want to have a vision of what you're doing. What you talked about before, that some people are just hitting it off. There's also some survivor bias, right? You are only seeing and hearing from the people who made it. You're not because they get big, they become the Minecraft or the Vampire Survivor, right? You don't see the hundreds of thousands of Vampire Survivor clones that don't make it. But yeah, so I also have a good vision. There's a new game come up that I actually downloaded and tried called Megabunk. That is the new Vampire Survivor in 3D. Because I wanted to see what all the talks was about.
how'd you find it?
Sorry,
How'd you find the game? Did you say you played it?
so how did I find it?
No, as in, sorry, I've done this a few times. How do I find it in English means like, did you enjoy it?
Okay. Oh, yeah. No, but I played, what did I play? Maybe 2 hours. I'm very busy at the moment, but I really want to find out what it's all about. I found it super, super nice. I mean, it is Vampire Survivor. It just feels like, if you like a Vampire Survivor style game and you played that a lot and you want something different that is fully different, and you like this type, this is the next game you want to play. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely something I would play. I would spend too much time on. So I completed Vampire Survivors. You're working with Vampire Survivors too, right?
yeah, correctly. At Coherence, yeah, we're making it and it worked. Which I think is awesome. I mean, it's an amazing game, and playing it with your friends just makes it even more fun.
Let's touch on that because I did not expect that playing Vampire Survivors. I've probably got a few hundred hours on that, and I remember seeing one of your posts ages ago saying, "Oh, we're making it multiplayer," and I'm the worst person to track as a user. But if I play a game too much, I uninstall it because I get addicted. So I've not followed at all what's happened on the multiplayer side. But like I would have not expected Vampire Survivors to go multiplayer. It's something we are going to be seeing more because that's what you do, right? At Coherence.
Yeah, but that's what I hope. I mean, that's our plan. That's our mission with this company. I love playing games, and I played loads of multiplayer games, and I played loads of single player games, and maybe some of my most favorite games are single player games, and many times I cannot. I can. I thought a lot about a game like Doom, which is one of my first FPS experiences in life. I just remember I was playing that a lot alone. I completed it a few times or whatever, and then I played multiplayer, which was very clunky in the old days. It was like we had to have a serial cable between the computers, and it was really like really basic. But when you came in, they had not made any effort to make it. It was to make it was work for a co-op. It was literally just you and another player. I think there was cannot even collision, but you were shooting together and you were picking up ammo together. But just that experience, sharing that experience with your friend, I just found that so extremely mind-boggling that you could suddenly share this experience of this horror game, which it is, with your friend. And then I thought about this game was not meant for multiplayer. They just added it because they could. What other single player experiences could you just add multiplayer? And then that's part of what Coherence is. A lot of other things, but that's part of what we do with Coherence. We just go in it's super easy to make single player game multiplayer. Obviously, a lot of times you have to think a bit about the gameplay, but I think my base thought is that you just because it's so easy to get in, you just start putting 2 players in, and then you see what happens. If it is it fun, what needs to be tweaked. We don't need to theorize. If it took 1 year to make, you have to do a lot of plans and you have to think about is it even worth it and so on. But with coherence, you just put it in and then you kind of play it and you see. And with Vampire Survivor, what we did was that the team, I heard from somebody that the team had interest in going multiplayer, and then we connected with them. And then for the second or third meeting with them, we kind of just prototyped the game. We just did the game as it was, just put 2 or 3 or whatever players in, and then we just tried to play it. And of course, you were mega overpowered, but I think everybody at that call could see the potential of this game. And now they just spend a lot of time.
Wait, you said 2-3 meetings.
Yeah.
Maybe people don't understand how crazy that is, right? Like,
Yeah,
how can you do that so quickly?
Yeah. No, but I mean, the way coherence is made is just like a few insertion points in your code that, where you decide these things need to be networked. So it is, I mean, that's, I think that's our selling point, that it's so easy to implement that you can, as I said, like do it almost even before thinking about if it's a good idea.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could validate it before going crazy investing into trying it.
Yeah.
Do you get many of that? I'm just going to be very curious right now, Dino. So if a company comes like, we don't know if this is going to work, but we want to try.
Yeah.
And then you try, it's like, well, I guess it doesn't work. No worries.
And we get more and more, but I still feel we're in the phase where, people are like, yeah, it's so good to be true. And now we like
So you don't even try.
Yeah, exactly. And then what we do with other
Wow.
people is that we take their code and we put it in, and then, as I said, with like 2 or 3 weeks, we have the second call, and then we play it with them, and we see where we are with it. Is it something they want to continue? I mean, we are still not communicating well enough that this is really easy to do. So that's kind of what we're working on with marketing and so on. But I mean, it's something that is spreading. The more games that are released, and the more we talk about it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Given that you're seeing a bunch of multiplayer games, for anyone thinking of doing multiplayer or maybe now considering it after listening to this, like, what do you feel is the future of multiplayer games?
This is maybe more a hope than a thought, but
Let's do it.
but I mean, I feel that a game like a Journey, if you know that.
Yeah, the one we showed earlier, like the one where there's 2 people together.
So Journey was released also by Annapurna. It's
Yeah, we had it on the screen earlier.
and they have this game where you are playing a single player game, and somewhere through the game, you suddenly yeah, exactly. Somewhere through the game, you realize that you meet other characters, and it's kind of a
40 minutes into the game, someone joins you, right? And you didn't even know it was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And you get a deep connectional relationship with a person you don't know, and it's so weird because what are you actually meeting, right? The character, when you like technically seeing a character moving around, it's just a position and a direction vector that you see. There's also a sound and so on, but it's very, very little data. But because this data is real time created by another person, you can immediately see it's a real person. You can see it's not AI. You can see it's the way they move is it's weird and unpredictable.
Human-like.
It's so human like. And when you realize that, you just get this deep connection, and it's a cool story. And I feel that nobody has done that since. A lot of games are, either you matchmake, and when the matchmaking is done, you go in and you shoot, or it's a single player game where you just have a single player experience and you cannot share it with anybody. And I have this hope that more games does these hybrid games where you play single player, but there's other people there that you can share with, and it can be your friends, and can be like I feel there's no reason why you should select between one or the other. If you have something that's
I
really
feel like RuneScape is a good candidate for this, or maybe even RuneScape Dragon Wilds, because RuneScape you can enjoy and play as an Iron Man, which is basically a single player account. And if you were playing on a 1-person server, you could be a really cool single player game.
Yeah.
Loads of people played it like that for years.
Yeah.
But then if you want to, you can then team up with someone. But I wonder if they made it with that in mind, right? Like, I don't know if you've seen RuneScape Dragon Wilds, where it's basically like the 3D version a little bit. That could be one where you make it's like Valheim.
Yeah.
So you imagine Valheim, and then halfway through, you see a guy, no name tag, and you're like, oh, another mob. And then you realize it's a human being. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's interesting. I
they have
would be curious to see someone else try that.
there's some games that are trying it. There's something like Sea of Thieves where you can
Mhm.
go in. It's not super fun single player. It's not a super fun game in total, but you can go in single player. You can play with your co-op friends. But then as you're on the server and sitting around, they they randomly match make you with other people, so you see other ships. And it's not that
Mhm.
it's a big MMO and everybody, if they go to one spot, they're all there. It's more like they create life in the world where other people are doing something. So there are some games that does it, but it's still mostly big companies because the technology and doing it is really hard. And that's kind of what we want to solve. That you're one man, you want to make you or don't have resources, or you are a small team, you don't have resources to make what I'm talking about, like a hybrid multiplayer game or even a multiplayer game. So you use something like coherence, it becomes more affordable. You have your crazy wild indie idea that is just way out there, but you combine it with you being able to meet other people, share the experience. It could be hubs where you just come in and everybody's there, and then you continue your journey. I had this wild idea, or I hope also like Half-Life 3. You join the resistance, but then the resistance is other playing gamers playing Half-Life 3, right? That would be mind blowing for for
Yeah.
for that game again, if that ever comes out. So, like, I think combining a lot of single player experiences and the emotion and the control you can have in a single player experience with multiplayer connection, that's a hope I have for the future.
Yeah. I think, well, is it happening? Because you happen to be in a unique place. You see these games coming in. Are you getting more interesting games?
I feel we get more and more games that does that. I mean, most people still have a hard time like thinking that because they either decide from the start, hey, it's single player, or they decide it's multiplayer.
Mm,
But I think more and more games coming out like that.
cool. So I want to get into some tactical stuff here because you've had a very unique experience. So you've sold a studio and then bought it back.
Yeah.
Not many people can say that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe less than 1,000, probably less than 100, but I don't know exactly. So things happen, right?
Mm.
The way I usually take these stories, I literally just ask you, like, is there anything you do differently? Is there anything that if someone gets into your situation, what do you wish that they knew? So I don't think anyone's listening to this planning to sell and buy their studio back, but there's some things that happen that maybe you would have done differently. So I'd love to dig into that. So what happened there?
But I can only tell it from my own personal story. I mean, I never created anything with the goal of selling it.
Hmm.
I think the times it happened, it just came about, and there was reasons for that when it happened. Um, I don't like selling a company. I will say that people who are trying to do that or aiming to do that, it it is not it is not it's glorified a lot. Obviously,
Really?
yeah.
Really? You know why I'm very surprised? I feel like I've met so many people who've told me the only business in games is building and selling a studio.
Okay, I can agree to that, but it depends on what your goal is in life. I mean, you
Hmm.
personally get a lot of money out, but I find money really boring.
Now what?
Now what? Yeah, but so yeah. Now what exactly? I- Um, I when I sold my shares in Playdead, I got around $8 million out, and I felt that I would any day trade that in to get back and have that be with those people and have that job and be with the company I created. I think,
Really? So when did you make that realization? Was that while you were selling? Is that the day after or
yeah, but yeah, I mean, a couple of weeks after, I mean, but I mean,
really?
yeah,
So that quick you were like, "Oh shit, I what have I done?"
yeah. No,
You would
so
go
the
back?
reason I did it at that point was like there was a huge fallout with my partner, the partner
Yeah.
I'm still not still falling out with. But I've been you lose all sense of purpose. I spent 10 years building something up, and I was also building an identity. I was also creating. I mean, I learned everything there. I feel like I learned a lot, and I came from never started a company before to start one, to get funding, to manage people, to hiring people, to creating products, to doing a lot of things. So I feel like I learned everything, and while I was doing it, I felt that I was this was it. I mean, this is my company. Uh,
Yeah?
just grow it. We make bigger and bigger things. All the games we did, had a huge impact, and I thought that was it. And then immediately after, I sold it again. I didn't sell it. It was not forcefully sold, but I mean, something needed to happen. One of us had to leave, so I left. It was
Yeah.
such a meaningless thing for me for a long time, and it took me maybe years to kind of get into, having a feeling of now I have found a new sense of purpose. And then with Jumpship, it felt a lot. I built a company in UK, and when I started it, I thought it was very exotic to have a company in UK. When I go travel to UK, I have a company. I even thought about buying an apartment there. But then after a while, like I think I felt it was a chore to travel. Going to the UK 2 or 3 times a month. It was a lot of traveling. I mean, I lived in a suitcase. It was not feeling so nice, and I started staying more home in Denmark. And at that point, I also lost a bit connection with the team, because all the team was in one place. It was not fully remote, and I was kind of just calling it in, and I felt like I was limiting the team more than I was helping it. So I kind of,
Because you weren't there day to day.
yeah. We have a meeting, agree on a lot of things. The next day you have another meeting, and then they all said, hey, we had this meeting, we decided on all these things. Afterwards, we met in the cantina, and we found out that we talked about this was not a good idea anyways. And it was like I felt too many times, and then sometimes they also waited and stuff from me, and I felt it was slow to be. So for me, I love the people we had, and I love the company, and I was really happy to work with Chris. But as we were kind of releasing it, I thought that I would much rather find a home for the company and the people, and kind of secure, like, having an owner that could kind of, fund the next project, to kind of, so that's why we sold it. But then, of course, I
Fair.
learned that just because you get sold and you have an owner, that doesn't mean you're safe. And actually, we were less safe than if we were. uh, bec-
Why?
yeah, because what happened was that they came back to me and say, "Hey, we cannot fund the next project."
So wait a minute. You sold the entire company or part of the
The
company?
entire company.
And why did they come back to you? Or did they come back to the team and say, hey, it's over?
Yeah, but I mean, I was still there, on the, like. So I sold the company. I was still working there,
Gotcha.
as like, I don't know what it's called, but I had, like, um,
It's like the part after you sell where you make sure the ship is running, a little bit of operation, and then
yeah,
the goal is to
but I didn't have a
sunset
plan also
out.
for leaving fully. So I was still, like, there on a weekly
Okay,
basis,
fair.
kind of. So they came back and said, "Hey, we cannot fund the next thing." And one of the part of the contract, and the reason we sold was that they had to fund the next thing. So we had a huge problem. And then we kind of came up with the idea that I could buy the whole thing back.
Cool.
Um,
Because that happened recently. It was like February of this year, right?
no, I can't remember. I think it was no
I saw
22.
an announcement in February this year anyway.
Okay,
On your LinkedIn, you announced something in February this year. Am I hallucinating?
I think it was in 2000. And was it this year?
I'm actually going to check because I swear I saw something. In February 2025, Dino acquired Jumpship.
Oh, that was recently. Oh man.
Oh my God. Have you had like 2 years lifespan in the last 8 months, Dino?
I have had
You know, I felt so guilty for researching this episode, Dino. There's a freaking article on
no,
my
you're
birthday,
right.
February 12th. It's like you both
Ah,
reacquired the studio. I got so nervous. I got hot and heavy.
yeah, I'm thinking about, what am I thinking? What is
That's crazy. So you thought this was last year
no? So I mean, we started the discussion, last year.
with you?
Yeah, and I think actually, yeah, we signed over Christmas, and then it got announced at that point. So I think that's my
Yeah, fair. All
excuse.
good, all good. But yeah, it's
So,
been
but I
recent,
also
right?
had a really
So
crazy summer. I had a really, really crazy working summer. So I mean, that's yeah,
in the twilight zone, I
stuff
think
got
loads of things are
stuff got
happening.
lost.
Yeah. Ah, very cool.
Yeah. So now,
So
so now we're fired. I'm. The problem was that they had to fire everybody there, and I also I could not afford to fund, the people running there, myself. So I have an idea what I'm going to do with it, and I have started executing it. And I had a bit crazy summer, so some of it has been a bit of a hold, but there's some really exciting plans for this coming up.
cool. Dino, I'm now going to take advantage of you, but not in that way. I feel like I want to learn very selfishly, some skills that you have that I don't have yet. So you've built teams bigger than mine. And for everyone listening, they might also want to build a team someday, and you've done it more than once. So I struggle how to phrase this question differently from how do you build a team? Because I feel like the way you've built a team, I'm sure there are things you've learned along the way that you would be like, I'm going to definitely do that next time, or I'm definitely not going to do that next time. So I would start with this question, like, from all the teams you've built, what is the one thing you wouldn't do again?
I never say never. I would really like to vet my co-founder better or co-founders better. I have
From a
two.
values perspective?
Yeah, from a values perspective and a skill perspective, and it is super hard. It's like everything else, right? It's like, I mean, sorry for using this analogy, and I use it all the time, and a lot of my team members always laugh at me. But it's like a relationship. You
Oh, yeah.
you meet somebody, you move together in a house, and then shit happens. And how do you evaluate what shit will happen when you move in the house before you move in the house? And it's super hard. And I don't think there's any solution. But I think it's
I have a solution for the marriage version.
yeah.
My solution is do a trip. And on that trip, you're 7 days together and just make sure shit will go down. Like, I don't know, plans go wrong. I say make sure things inevitably go wrong. So at least with my girlfriend, I've did an event together in Barcelona. We went there for a week, and my version of shit that went down, I accidentally, not thinking, booked an Airbnb, and it was 5 guys and me and her. And I didn't tell her this, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's gonna be fine." Then I realized, yeah, that's probably not the smart idea, but
It worked
took
out.
it with stride, and
No,
it worked
I'm
out.
actually, I think it's a good one. I will learn from you. I will not from
If
now
we do
on.
that in business, maybe
Yeah,
like have a test.
I will.
I'm doing that now with my writers. Now, I'm sorry, I'm getting excited here, but like with my writers, because it's such a skill based role, how do I interview for writing?
Mm,
Like I know you've written so much, but I don't know if you can write the way we want. So the way we're doing it is like paid writing task, paid writing week, paid writing month, and then we go full time.
yeah,
And it's just very structured, and
yeah.
like you don't quit your job until we do the full thing. It's up to you. And I don't know, I just really don't like the idea of let's interview and then great, we're getting married. And
Yeah.
there's like a 6 month notice period, and if the divorce happens, we're all screwed. Like I'd rather not do that, please.
But in interviews, I agree with you. You know, you sit there and you speak with, now I say, a liar, but it's like the first date, right? You speak with a
Yeah,
person
it's
for the
the
first time,
incentives.
right?
Of course, you're going to get the best version.
They have the best version. They have the most beautiful clothes. They have like prepared all the lines. You ask them what's your biggest flaw, and they say, hey, my biggest flaw is I work too much. It's just like you get this. So I agree with that. But I think it's especially with the partners, because there's something with the partners where you really have to go deep in bed with them. You like you either sh- uh, share the company, and then share register like this. It's a deep relationship quickly. But as I said, like I learned from you. I think I will not have a new partner without going on a trip with them.
Yeah, like I'm actually about to do this, surprisingly. So my younger brother's in the business, but now my older brother's joining the business. And he's already joined for a few weeks. And where I'm still procrastinating writing the agreement. Because the vision is we both make this our forever company. And he comes in and he's going to really scale the event side. And he's older than me, he's got more skin in the game, he's investing, and he wants this to be his forever company. And as I was writing what basically worst case scenario, what's going to happen?
Mm.
And then he gets really emotional. And I'm just like, great. And I spoke to a lawyer about it. He's like, yeah, don't do that. Do this. And I was like, wow, it's just, I don't expect nothing to go wrong. But then I try to do the doomsday planning, and then it gets scary, and then I just don't want to do it. And now, obviously, I need to do it. But like, you've been through doomsday, is what I want to get at. And I'm wondering, like, what should I be planning for that maybe I don't think about?
Yeah. I think it's hard with family. Again, I had never tried it with family, and I don't know how that would work. Um,
Pros and cons.
yeah,
You get
pros and
ultimate
cons.
trust
Yeah,
and ultimate emotion.
yeah. I have a friend that does like the estate company with his brother, and I'm really envying the kind of some of the relationship and the level of trust they can have with each other, and they can really also be angry with each other, but they kind of, no matter what, find a common ground. So I
Yeah,
can.
like it's interesting. My company's called Foku.com, at least the website. So everyone in the company now that's full time will eventually have the surname Foku, because it's my younger brother, my older brother's fiance who is engaged, and then my girlfriend. I hope to join the business next year, and one day she will also be a Foku, and that'll be very funy to see that experiment if that works. So yeah, gonna build the family business slowly, slowly.
Yeah. I personally have, I mean, as I said, like I personally tried that my first company I co-founded, I thought it was a forever company. And I, since, I don't know, really appreciate not attaching myself to anything called forever. And I don't know if it's a good or bad advice, to be honest. I just think it's, again, I don't start the companies with the intent of selling them, but I also don't want to put all my identity into one
Mm.
single company, and it has to work for me to be successful. I can be successful in being in between and, for myself, and then I can facilitate other companies and do different things with different people. But again, it's a big personal thing. It's also, it's very stressful because having several companies is extremely stressful. I don't think a lot of people would like to be in my shoes for a lot of time. I mean, I sleep really bad, and I've done that for the last 15 years.
So
Uh,
how would you design your life? Would you make it one company?
no, I don't know. I mean, I said, like, I would not give people an advice for something I'm not doing myself. So
Yeah,
and I think I always, we people are always, we are hardwired in the way that the grass is always greener makes so much sense, because your own pros and cons. When you look at others, you can only see the pros. You never see
yeah.
the cons, and that's how it is. So I I I I think it's more simple with one company. I think it's also, there's also some people that should just be employed, because that's, the least stressful thing. And I think some people are not meant to do their own business. It's very stressful. But
I think it's different personalities,
yeah.
Dino. I agree with you completely. I've interviewed a writer recently. She was quintessential solopreneur, had her own business, freelancer, and she applied to the job. And I was surprised. And we had the chat because I knew her. And she said, "Yeah, she was like, benefits, clocking in, clocking out."
Mm,
She was like listing all this stuff. It's like, I can't imagine anything better. I'm like, yeah, that sounds pretty good right now as well to me. Like when you put it like that, it doesn't hurt having that structure
yeah.
for sure. It's just whether you're working in a place that gives you the room to grow. I think, like you mentioned this earlier in the call, you stopped learning, and that's when you got, I guess, itchy to jump.
Mm,
And I feel like if we can maybe take this to the listener now, and like, what happens when you get bored or get listening? Like, what happens then? I feel like we need to plan for that before you actually start the business, even though it's annoying. And I'm not following my own advice now because I'm procrastinating, recording a podcast instead of writing my profit sharing agreement. So, but I feel like it's so important, and it's so important.
yeah. I just think that starting a company, I never been bored. I mean, when I was 20, I moved from a rural part of Denmark to
Hmm.
Copenhagen. And I was 20, and I was just done with gymnasium, which is a like education step here in Denmark. And I wanted to study more. And I said to myself, I worked 1 year in Copenhagen, then I got back, and then I was there for 2 years and 3 years. And then I said to myself, okay, I mean, this is still fun, but I will, as soon as I stop learning, because that's what I love, being curious and learn,
Yeah.
then I'll go back and study. And then, I became 28, 30, and, and like 20, around 25, 26, that's when I co-founded Playdead. And at that point, I just felt like it was all new. It was all challenges. It was all, there's a new day every day. No, no, like it was such a big, like, what's it called, catalog of things to learn. At one point
Yeah.
I got a bit sad that I think, I went into tech, and I wanted to go back to tech education, and I love tech, I love programming, as I am an engineer by heart. But I was always a bit sad I didn't kind of take the formal, like, leadership, business school stuff. Not because, I learned all I need to learn, I think, over the years, and I learned it by doing
When you
it.
say formal business leadership, do you mean like an MBA, for
Yeah, an
example, like
MBA or
something like that?
something. I think all of the things I needed to do, I had to learn. So I've learned the specifics, but I never got the theory. And sometimes I feel I go ways around to learn a thing, and then I realized this thing has
I mean, have you
this thing
paid for
has a term.
coaching? We live in a different world now, Dino. Like I've spent probably way too much, like at least 25K, maybe 30K now. And yeah, big chunk of the revenue on just learning from people who are doing what I want to do. I just like, hey, your business is bigger than mine. Can I pay for your time? You have this course here. Like, have you done anything like that when it comes to business? Because that's
Not that I
10
paid
times
for,
cheaper.
but I mean, I see podcast and business YouTubes all the time, and follow what's his name,
Tim Ferriss, Alex
Alex
Hormozy.
Hermosi, and so on.
Yeah.
It's the
One
people who have
second.
done.
So I have an opinion on this. So I paid 6K for this bad boy.
Okay,
So if you bought 200 of his books, he sends you like extra books.
if you bought 200,
And like you said, yeah. So he released a book So he released a book called Money Models. I don't have it, but basically, green version of this.
yeah,
So the page turn sound effect on this podcast is this book because this is why my business exists. I just basically followed this book, and the Money Models was the basically how to build money. But the book is free, right? But I don't know why. I was in Italy and I paid for the 200 books, 6K. I was like, would I rather have 2 Ethereum or the books? And I was like, I would rather have the book. So I made the investment. And I just want to say this, like, to your point, nothing in here I couldn't probably find somewhere online,
mm,
but it's, I guess, different when I've paid for it and I have it in my hands. And I had this on the table, and my brother read some, Jana read some, and I found that very useful because, like, they read it, like, okay, great, we can do this. And I feel like it's different when it comes in a, I bought this to learn. I don't know how else to say it.
mm, mm.
Definitely great advice, but I think the packaging is very important. Where if you consume something with intent, whether it's from a coach or you pay for some advice, I don't know, like you just take action.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
obviously makes you less friction. But it's really helped me. That's the only reason I've been able to like run payroll right now because I learned something and then I went and did it.
Yeah, yeah, that's also like one of the things you learn through, right? Some that you don't learn in business school. So yeah, no, I mean, I love to hear a lot of that. I mean, when I cannot sleep at night, I hear it. When I work out, I hear it.
Nice.
When I eat by myself, I also hear it. So like, but yeah, I still feel like when I'm executing something, it's still sometimes I feel I need models. I mean, I'm slowly learning, and I love that part. But it's yeah, but maybe you're right. Maybe I mean, I also would never go back to a formal education right now because there would be 80.
The opportunity cost is so much.
Yeah, but it's also like 70% I don't need, and then 30% I need. I would rather now, hey, I need to do this. I have a problem with leadership. I have a problem with this. Then I go and specifically search stuff that help me over like the thinking about some of these things. And then, but then as I said, like sometimes I find out I've been struggling with something, and then when I learn how to define it, there's a term for it. And when I started looking for that term, other people had the same problem. And I'm like, fuck,
There you go.
I could maybe just have started, if I knew that term, from formal education that got input at when I was 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I can give some unsolicited 2 cents here, like a la carte, find what you need. Or if you don't have a business coach, someone who's done what you've done to like 10x, they are surprisingly easy to find. Like the amount of people willing to give me time, even unpaid, who are a lot more successful than me is crazy. And you're already a lot more successful than me. So I can't imagine the type of people you can speak to who've already done the things you want to do.
Yeah.
Like they do exist.
It's fun to say it because I have this maybe limiting mindset that when you first done it and you're a millionaire or something, why would you spend time? Like very few people, I feel, and that's maybe I'm wrong with that, want to spend time kind of learning others. Again, they don't do it. They don't do it for the money because they have the money. Why do they do it? What is it that you, yeah?
So you think people who have gone past you stopped learning? Just to understand what you
No, I
said?
think they stopped spending time learning others. The
Mm-mm.
people who go back, and suddenly get a job in education was because they were maybe. I mean, they had some experience they can learn from them, but they didn't leave orbit with success.
That's the trick. Don't go to education. Just go to people who already run businesses and pay for an hour of their time.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about right here. So if their only job is to teach,
Yeah.
What if their only job was build a business, but they spend 5 or 10% being a mentor, what have you? Those are the ones that I'm referring
Yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah,
and they exist.
yeah. I mean, I would love to know who you who you speak to.
Yeah, we'll,
I
we'll chat to
I have
after
a I
because
have a
like
few,
there's
and some of them I consider friends, that I think they have a super unique perspective of some things I don't know much about. I mean, again, basically how money works. I learned a lot, like the last few years, both because I invest and in a lot of things. But I mean, there's still a lot of things I love to kind of learn in that.
yeah, awesome. I want to end with: is there anything I should have asked you that I haven't asked you, Dino? Because there's so much we could uncover, but there is obviously the unfortunate time limit.
Cannot come up with anything on the spot.
In terms of the, I guess, next steps, like what's next for yourself? Is it doubling down on coherence?
So over the summer, I've been working extremely hard on a deal with Coherence, and there's soon coming news out on that. I cannot talk about it yet, but it's a what's it called? I feel
Good news?
yeah, good news. Yeah, good news coming out. So that's next. Yeah, Coherence. I mean, I feel we are at a pivotal point where we're getting our first releases for something we waited on waited for like so long, and that I think is going to help us with marketing.
Hell yeah.
And then I'm also looking at a few other opportunities at the moment. I mean, I always have like 2, 3 projects going on at the same time, and
Yeah.
yeah,
I've had to remove a project recently because I get way too excited as well. I it's just it's like a guilty pleasure. It's like, yeah, we can do that. And Elon Musk did a tweet recently, and it's just a picture of a sign that says, "We don't do this because it's easy,"
mm,
and then in small print, "We do this because we think it's easy."
yeah.
And I'm very much like that.
I mean,
It's like, yeah, we'll be fine.
one thing I am really into learning at the moment, and in general, is one of my big idols is Richard Branson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know so much about his details. I just know that he started so many businesses, and I think right now I'm doing a lot with the businesses I start. I'm the main driver, and I think to start a lot of businesses, you have to not create businesses. You have to create the entity that creates these businesses. So you have to have
Yeah,
those people that.
you want to create the virgin. I'm very similar in the sense, like, someone, I had one coach, he had a marketing agency and he sold it, and for a year he had to exit himself from the business and document everything.
Mm,
And in that process he learned a lot of, like, what he could delegate that he should have done a lot earlier.
yeah,
And he was my coach for a big chunk of the year, still is. And he said, like, there are founder worthy things and founder worthy unworthy things.
yeah,
And the thing that are founder worthy are so small. He said it's like three things: like the direction of the company, the vision, and hiring and fundraising. Everything else kind of doesn't need to be the founder. So if you just get really good at those three things, well, after a while, then unless you're really doing all the hiring interviews, like, you can build the team, then the only thing left is direction and vision. And then, all right, I've got more time. Let me do that again. Let me do that again. And right now, I'm, for example, the head of content. I'm doing
yeah,
also all the BD. I'm gonna write the notes after this podcast. Like, there's a lot of stuff which eventually I can just become that vision person, and then do the highest leverage things. At least ideally.
yeah. Yeah, but doing that and finding the right people and setting up the right structures for that, I think is very interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a good plan. Lovely. Dino, how can people get in touch? What's the best way?
With me, I mean, write me on X or I don't know. I have too many people contacting me at the moment.
If
So
someone wanted
preferably
to
not.
get involved, you're the
LinkedIn.
first person to say that.
Oh
That's good.
no, it's
No, that's
crazy.
funny.
LinkedIn. I'll not answer you, but I'll read everything.
That's funny.
That's
Sweet. So if you want to work with coherence, go through the website.
oh yeah. So I have lots of people that want to talk with you at Coherence. Me personally, write me on LinkedIn. I'm overloaded on all channels at the moment, and I have at the moment trying to find out how I get a better process for that. But yeah, for Coherence, go to
Cool.
the Coherence
No worries.
website. We have a crazy and talented team there to make your game multiplayer.
Fantastic. Dino, I really enjoyed this chat. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me on.
Hell yeah. Sweet. Goodbye, everyone.